I'm thinking too, wouldn't part of that agenda also, it would have to be this trend that we see more and more of, where the actor who has died is resurrected via computer generated imagery. And like, doesn't it feel like, I mean, like, I think Scorsese's making a Netflix movie now,
Yeah.
where this digitally de-aged
Oh, De Niro and Pacino,
right.
yeah.
Right. So they're gonna be young men in this film, and so that's another transcendence of biology, right? Another kind of, I guess, subtle and not so subtle way of kind of sending that message. I feel like people have been very, like, I noticed with Star Wars, people were very turned off by Peter Cushing being resurrected, and it seemed to have a real negative reaction. And you can tell that, like, Carrie Fisher is somebody who's very personal to Star Wars fans, and you can almost feel that there's going to be a very big split in as far as how that's accepted, because I'm sure they're bringing her back, right, in this next one.
I didn't know about Peter Cushing. You have to. They just resurrected him digitally, did they?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! They're probably sucking in, the hungry ghost that's Peter Cushing floating in the stratosphere, getting sucked in. No.
Well, wouldn't it be? It's only a matter of time before an actor would sign away the rights to their,
Eternal soul.
Yeah, you get scanned. Exactly. Scan my soul, it's yours. I don't know what the going rate for that would be.
I know. Well, it's we could get into esoteric here, and speculate on how real that contract might actually be. But let's not. Yeah. Let's just stay with the facts for now. What was the Peter Cushing story? Which movie was it?
I believe the last Star Wars, wasn't it? His character returns.
I actually watched the last one. That was the Jedi, the Last Jedi. I did eventually watch that on an afternoon, but I don't remember any Cushings in it.
Was it the one before that? Did you see the one before it? Maybe I'm talking out of my ass. I mean, I've been boycotting Star Wars since 1984, so...
Well, maybe it's the one to come. Right. So, well, anyway, so let's not get stuck on the details. So, but you're saying that fans might have balked at that. So, point being, that they've got to be quite strategic or systematic in terms of how quickly they introduce these new...
Well, I just don't know if we're there yet. I mean, I've seen examples of this digital de-aging thing where...
I saw a very good one. It was Downey Jr. in one of the Iron Mans.
That's what I was thinking, yeah. And people were very impressed with that. That didn't ruffle any feathers. Of course, it's quite different than somebody who's died, but it'll be interesting to see how the Scorsese film, I mean, I imagine if they have enough money, it won't be. It's back to the uncanny valley, because it's when it looks weird that people are going to have a problem with it.
Unless it was an ethical problem over Peter Cushing's resurrection, but that's hard to imagine from Star Wars fans. Although, yeah, I guess I could imagine it with Carrie Fisher, not exactly to be ethical, but aesthetical, I guess. As in, that's not the real Carrie Fisher, and you can't tell me it is.
I mean, I felt like when I watched that last Blade Runner movie, they had I'm blanking on Sean Young's character.
Yeah. But that was really bad, wasn't it?
It was very bad, and it was... I felt that it was almost like an injected sort of dose of nostalgia, just to sort of... And there is quite a thing now of a kind of nostalgia industry, you know, because, you know, we're a whole generation of people who never really grew up, but now are growing old, you know. So we love regurgitating our childhood. um, but you know, even the Sean Young presence, that scene doesn't seem to make any sense, except that it's because it's almost like a little test for Harrison Ford to, you know, it's almost like a Turing test, right? That scene, because it's like he recognizes it as a fraud right away and not, you know, whatever love connection he had with her. It's not there, and which is very similar to, I feel like, what the audience is feeling in that moment, a kind of repulsion, you know, revulsion.
Yeah. So then, do you think it was deliberately bad? I mean, the simulation was deliberately unconvincing.
Or distasteful. I felt like they must have known that it was going to be distasteful, then no matter how they, you know, presented it, right? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, the Robert Downey thing wasn't. I mean, the difference with the Iron Man Robert Downey was that it was a simulation within a movie. They weren't actually pretending it was a real flashback. They were showing the technology within the movie, weren't they?
right, right,
We have this technology now. Whatever
right.
it has to do with Tony Stark, I don't know. But so that's interesting, because that would be a buffer to the uncanny valley, because you're expecting to see a simulation, and then you're pleasantly surprised that it looks real.
Mm.
As compared to in Blade Runner, they're presenting it as it's real, and you're seeing what's obviously a simulation.
But are they presenting it as it's real? I might maybe not remembering it right, but the whole thing is.
It was a trick, wasn't it? Weren't they trying to trick him?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Right.
I think so. But anyway, I remember it being definitely worse than the Downey one. Like, she looked too fat, and they hadn't got it quite right.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, but it's the same time as they have the same technology that they had for Iron Man. So why would they fudge it? Why would it get fudged? I mean, it's impossible to do more than speculate, and pointless to speculate here. But in terms of the sort of the higher, deeper levels of this, how they're acclimatizing us to a disembodied state.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, if there is such a thing, I don't know, but at least they're acclimatizing us to technology anyway. Let's put it that way, and then there's these ideas that the technology is both selling to us and kind of riding on, as in, you know, if we believe in a certain idea and the technology will help us get it, then we'll support the technology.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll fuel that quest.
Right. But it's a mutually reinforcing kind of thing, because also if you believe in the technology, then you'll start to believe in the idea, and if the technology is good enough, you'll start to experience the idea, and then you'll start to want it, and so on. But anyway, this wasn't my point. There's getting acclimatized to that. I think part of it is the uncanny valley effect, isn't it? Or maybe it is that sort of extended to everything, as in, can we gradually be persuaded to accept what we know isn't real?
Right.
And suspend our disbelief and our disgust.
Right.
You know, when confronted with something that we know isn't real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And the lure is, of course, that reality is so bad that even a poor counterfeit's better if it, you know, if it offers what we want, if it offers an escape from.
Any escape will do. I mean, it could get so bad that what do you got? I'll take it, you know?
Yeah, so, but this is, I mean, to bring it to the really personal and direct, like, this is this is a lived experience for me, because I look forward to watching, you know, the next True Detective season or whatever. Little Drummer Girl is downloaded on my hard drive now to watch that series, in a way that's really disproportionate, A, with the quality of enjoyment that I'll have when I watch it, because usually I'm disappointed to some degree or another, and B, with the reality that I'm trying to escape from. I mean, actually, there's nothing wrong with my existence right now that I want to escape from it. So the lure is, well, I guess maybe this is to do with, maybe it's related to the acclimatization, because we want to get people addicted, and then you acclimatize them to it's like drugs, isn't it? And once you get them on the weed, and then eventually they'll go on to the harder stuff and so on, because they'll need more and more to actually feel what they're, you know, or to shut out the feelings that we're trying not to feel. What was I going to say? Addiction, acclimatization. I mean, I think essentially for myself, I'm trying to recapture the feeling that I once got out of movies and TV shows. Like, I'm still trying to recapture it, really.
Right, which is exactly what the kind of nostalgia culture. I had a friend tell me that when he watches the old Star Wars movies, he doesn't have the same feeling that he had when he was a kid. But actually, when he watches the new Star Wars movies, he does have that same feeling. So, I mean, that's a very, that's more literal than what you're talking about. But, you are, yeah, we're trying to recapture that first high,
Or, I mean, that is something uncanny, to use that word again, about that Star Wars is still going stronger than ever, and that Marvel movies, obviously going stronger than ever, because this is a new thing, really. But they're bigger. Marvel movies are bigger than Marvel comics ever have been in terms of numbers.
Sure.
Big in China, big everywhere, and that they are both, addicting or enchanting, beguiling, whatever, a whole new generation of kids, and semi-satisfying a much older generation
Yeah.
who grew up on that stuff, roughly the same period. Like, I grew up on Marvel comics and Star Wars. They're equally well, no, comics are more influential by far, actually, but it was a similar period anyway, from about 7 to adolescence, that coincides, with both. Of course, Marvel comics have been around a long time, but whatever. I mean, I can't even say about the peaks or anything like that, and they appeal to similar things. I mean, to bring it maybe slightly into the real here, I was listening to there's this group called they're called Sikhs, I think. Sikhs, and it's like Science Institute. I don't know what that stands for, but they advise Hollywood on science. And I was listening to it through this clandestine spy culture podcast. And their job isn't really to help Hollywood, and it's particularly about Marvel movies here, get science right, but to make it credible. So they're not there to say, well, wait a minute, Tony Stark's costume couldn't really fly or do this, that, and the other, unless they'll just say, okay, this is the kind of backstory and the kind of other technology you need to have in the Marvel universe to make that credible.
Right.
Right? And anyway, this woman from this team, that's a team, was giving a lecture a you can call it that. And what she was talking about was superpowers, and she was saying that 1% of you in this room are superheroes and you don't know it yet. And she was talking about innate superpowers, as in people who can breathe at high altitudes, people who don't need to sleep much, and so on, right? But then she went on to how we're developing the technology now to engineer your superpower, and pretty soon it's going to be an ethical question: how young should kids be before they're allowed to choose their superpower?
Right, of course.
Hmm.
That's just real quick. That reminds me too of the main thrust of Temple Grandin's whole thing. Is that there's an autistic superhero in the bunch, and we've got to find them and encourage their superpowers.
Well, interestingly, I think it was the same woman, it was on the same podcast anyway, was saying that the superheroes of the future won't be Aspergerians, they won't be socially retarded, they won't be this, that, and the other, they won't forget to brush the back of their hair. As in, she gave a sort of anti-autist little speech in the middle of the rest of it to say, forget about those losers. Now it's be the jocks and the cheerleaders, who will be the superheroes, because they were like a failed, what do you call that? Like a failed prototype kind of thing, early model that's being discontinued.
Huh. Okay. Did she offer ample evidence of that trend, or?
She didn't seem like somebody to be hampered by things like evidence.
Okay. Well, that's helpful for her.
But it occurred to me that if this does relate to traumagenesis, because of course she wasn't talking about MK Ultra when she was talking about engineering superpowers, she was talking about chromosomes and this, that, and the other. But you could even make an argument that that's kind of a trauma, biological trauma. But anyway, if it does relate to traumagenesis, i.e., psyche fragging to access psychic potential, then maybe the precogs or the early autists were like these prototypes of traumagenesis that were malfunctioning, and now they're ironing out the wrinkles.
Perfect. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I've certainly thought of autistics as the kind of midwives for AI, for bringing AI into existence, but I hadn't thought about it quite like that.
Yeah. Well, not unrelated.
Yeah, right.
You might like the light, but they don't like the sun. When the little people come, when the little people come, scatter shiny things, cause they're not scared of guns. When the little people come, when the little people come, better hide up all your pickles, better stock up on your rum. When the little people come, when the little people come, it won't be any fun. When the little people come, 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 when the little people come.